it really felt like hand holding, to be honest. Like as far as I had a lot of questions about the interview process and
Mhm.
preparing for that. So of course I learned all the skills in the actual course, but then once we got down to the interviewing, I could actually ask questions that I really needed before and actually practice the interview process as well.
Mhm.
So that was super helpful. And I came into this that was my dream job that I wanted to go after. So I kept that in mind through all of that, and even with reaching out with questions and stuff. I tried to keep that in mind as well. That even if it wasn't Tony Robbins, that it was a coaching program, and I really dialed in on trying to get good at selling in that particular space.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Which I mean, and the crazy part is it happened. And
Yeah,
disclaimer, not everybody gets their dream job, but it worked out for you, which is exciting. And I
right.
also think, again, I mean, I'm such a firm believer in, obviously you're within the Tony Robbins realm, but it's like what you throw out in the world is what's going to get at you. And it's like, hey, all those different things, like everything happens twice in your life, once in your mind, once in reality. It's like belief, all those things, it all comes back. And all right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Chad Aleo here, CEO and founder of High Ticket Sales Academy, also the author of the best-selling book, the book on high ticket sales. And I'm really pumped to have one of our rock star students with us, Miss Brianna. Brianna is someone that has landed a role with a name that most of you all are familiar with, and that is Mr. Tony Robbins. And so I wanted to bring her on so one, we could get a little insight into your experience coming across our company, all the things, but also just help people realize that, like, hey, you don't have to have the craziest, most extensive background in sales to get a great role and work with a great company. So, Brianna, welcome. And if you could just give everyone just a little bit of background of you before you got here and all the different things that you were doing, and then we'll kind of get more into like what it was like when you were here. So go right ahead.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chad. Yeah, so my background, I was a business owner. It was like a luxury co-working space with educational childcare. So very innovative, different. And I loved it. And, I learned a whole lot. And obviously I did sales there.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily in high ticket sales. I also was head of marketing for a tech company for a while. So, a
All
little bit,
different stuff.
have moved around between sales and marketing, but I definitely didn't have a very high background in high ticket sales. So, and that's, something I really wanted to get into and, why I found you guys.
Yeah. And what was I'm kind of curious, like, why was high ticket sales to you the career that made the most sense? Because obviously there's a lot of stuff you could do. I mean, you could start your own thing. You could, I mean, maybe you've explored stuff like that. But what made high ticket sales stick out where you're like, this is the right career move for me?
Yeah, so I think anyone that's an entrepreneur, they're going to gravitate towards performance-based income. I didn't like being at a set salary where no matter what I did, I couldn't make more.
Yeah.
So that was a huge plus in high ticket sales. The more you work, the harder you work, the more money you make, and not having any kind of cap. Most of it's remote, so being able to just work from anywhere is a huge plus as well. And I've always been a huge fan of the coaching, space. I've had coaches of my own in the past, and in
Mhm.
fact, what kind of led me into this is I wanted to, I was debating if I wanted to become a coach myself, and I
Yeah.
really like helping other people and teaching others, and I just found through other courses and things that I wasn't quite ready. There's a lot to learn, and to be really great at something. There's a lot that goes into it, running your own business. So it just
Sure.
didn't feel right. And, the next thing that kind of gets me a part of that coaching, the coaching space
Mhm.
without having to grow my own business is high ticket sales, selling
Mhm.
the coaching programs. So, even the coaching or the sales calls are a bit like a coaching call. It's kind of like the first coaching call, and really teaching them where their mindset is, what their goals are, what's holding them back, and then how to get them into the right coaching program for them.
Love that. And I think it's cool that you consider doing the business thing because I want to touch on that real quick. Because I think a lot of people that get into this space, when you're thinking like, hey, I want to make more money, the first thing is like, I got to be a business owner, right? But a lot of people forget all the different skills, right? Now, the good news for you is like you're confident, you've done marketing in the background, you've done some sales, right? But I'm always telling everyone, like, if you want to run a coaching program, go work for a successful coaching program and go
Yes.
get a sales job doing it, because that is
Yeah.
probably going to be the most valuable skill in the beginning that you need to master. So that if you decide at some point, like, who knows? I mean, maybe you're going to be at your long-term career. I hope you are. Or if you
Mhm.
decide at some point you want to start your own thing, it's like you will know how to sell, number one. But then number two, you'll be able to teach it to somebody else, right? And I think that's a huge piece. So, but now when you were thinking about getting into the space, I know one of the biggest things that we run into a lot is people say, Chad, I'm looking at all these different companies. There's like female only programs, and then there's, other ones that look similar to you guys. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you spoke with Christian on our team, I believe you
Mhm.
were looking at multiple different companies, and you didn't make a decision like right away. It was like you had a couple other conversations still lined up. So tell me a little bit like why you decided to choose us, or what resonated with you, all those different things.
Yeah, so since, I know that there's a lot of programs out there, people that run things that they haven't actually done themselves.
Yeah.
And so I was very wary about who I chose when learning high ticket sales. And I actually did have some conversations with other companies, and it was just not genuine.
Mm,
You guys are, you genuinely care, and you can tell that even after going through your program. There's a lot of touch points. You can reach out for help at any time,
mm.
and getting one-on-one time with the owners is a
Yeah.
huge thing. You guys do, weekly calls where you can communicate with other people in the group. And there's a lot of companies out there don't do that. They might just throw a course at you and say good luck.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
typically how it goes.
Oh
So
yeah. Talk to
you
those
guys have
people
nothing
already.
like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I really took my time, and then I read reviews, and you guys have done such a really, really great job at helping people, and not just teaching the skills, but actually helping find those positions as well, and even refining your pitch before going on to the company. So I think that's a key point that really actually helps people.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to just like congratulate you on, I know I've given you some shout outs here and there already, but you were super coachable and you were showing up consistently. And I think that's also part of it. If you're watching this and you're considering working with us, or really any program, a lot of it is, I mean, it's not like it's all up to you, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, you can get so much direction, but if you don't use it, okay, if you don't follow directions, you don't ask questions, if you don't actually, come to coaching calls, it's like, hey, how are you supposed to be successful? And I think you were someone that definitely showed up, right? And you had the
Yep.
big questions and you said, hey, this is the challenge I'm dealing with. What would you guys do in this situation, right? And it obviously streamlined your process and, of course, landing a great role, right? And now you're working with, I know we said it earlier, we already gave the teaser, but with Tony Robbins. I mean, that is so cool. He's one of my mentors. And honestly, I think you got the job that sometimes I wish I had when I was the closer. So I'm excited to hear how that's all going. But where do you feel like we supported you the most in that process? That was most valuable to you.
I would say, I mean, it really felt like hand holding, to be honest. Like, as far as, I had a lot of questions about the interview process and,
Hmm.
preparing for that. So, of course, I learned all the skills in the actual course. But then once we got down to the interviewing, I could actually ask questions that I really needed before, and actually practice the interview process as well.
Hmm.
So that was super helpful. And I came into this that was my dream job that I wanted to go after. So I kept that in mind through all of that, and even with reaching out with questions and stuff. I tried to keep that in mind as well. That even if it wasn't Tony Robbins, that it was a coaching program, and I really dialed in on trying to get good at selling in that particular space.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Which I mean, and the crazy part is it happened. And
Yeah,
disclaimer, not everybody gets their dream job, but it worked out for you, which is exciting. And I
right.
also think again, I mean, I'm such a firm believer in obviously you're within the Tony Robbins realm, but it's like what you throw out in the world is what's going to get at you. And it's like, hey, all those different things, like everything happens twice in your life, once in your mind, once in reality. It's like belief. All those things, it all comes back. And I mean, you're just a great testament to that. So, but I'm curious, a couple more questions I have, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. But for you, as you're transitioning into this brand new role, and you think about like the sales stuff that you have learned up to this point, what do you think's been some of the most valuable pieces that are going to help you, I guess, be successful in this role that you're going to take with you that have kind of stuck?
So I think one thing that you guys hammered home a lot was to have realistic expectations on how hard it is.
Mm,
It is, um, it's not like you're just going to come in and make a ton of money and,
yeah.
maybe 2 hours a day, kind of thing what they try to sell on
Oh yeah.
Instagram sometimes.
Oh yeah. They promise you the dream, right? Do
Yep,
nothing and
exactly.
make 10 grand a month.
Right. So you really do need to hone the skill
Yeah.
and practice consistently and know that it's going to take a lot of time. Over repetition over a long period of time, you can probably cut down the amount of hours that you work because you get better at what you're doing.
Hmm.
But in the beginning, you're putting in really long hours and you're really, getting into the psychology of the client and what they're actually needing and needing to really care about that. So I think you guys did a really great job of teaching that and so that you have, real expectations once you get out into the field.
Yeah, great point to make. I mean, it is a skill set, right? I mean, this is
Mhm.
not something where you just come into it. And again, it sounds so, it's crazy because the ads you do see sometimes, it's like, hey, I'm in this other country and I'm selling 1 hour a day. And it's like, I'm closing all these deals. Like, no, you're going to get a lot of rejection. It's a sales
Yep.
job. You got to realize like someone's handing you 10, 20, 30 grand and they're going to have questions and they're going to have objections. And you got to understand how do I facilitate that conversation the right way to give them the confidence to say yes. Or, if they give them the confidence to say no and then just shake it off and go sign somebody else up, right? But
Yeah.
again, I mean, you were someone like even through the mock call process, you were coachable, and I mean, when you did that mock call, you absolutely did stellar on it, right? Didn't
Yeah.
take you a ton of time. It didn't take you a ton of
Yeah.
tries, but at the same time, it's like it just goes to show like using the AI tools, sticking to the process, like that's why you got the job because you're coachable, right?
Yeah, the mock calls helped with my confidence a ton because you can learn all this information, but without actually practicing it,
Hmm.
it doesn't really it's not very effective.
Yeah.
So I think it really gave me a lot of confidence going into the interview processes. Even with the other interviews I did, I felt very confident to do a mock call. I wasn't like, oh crap, I've never done this before. Like,
And that's a big
so
thing, and that's an expectation. I mean, though, when you get deeper in the process of the interview, it's not just a hey, you're a good personality, you're a talker, or some would say a yapper, whatever. It's like, hey, we want to see you actually put this to the use. And that mock call, you do bad, you're not getting the job, right?
right.
You got to sound like you know what you're doing. So, which you did a great job on that. And you got great feedback. And this was probably one of the tougher interview processes because they had you take a
Yeah.
test, they had all sorts of stuff, if I
Hmm.
remember correctly. So,
Yeah,
well,
it was a long process.
well, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take up a ton more, but last question I do have. I mean, if someone's considering working with us, and obviously you've been on the inside, you've seen how our process works. Like, what would you tell them if they're on the fence and just wondering if this is the right company to work with?
I would say just do it. Just go for it because, I actually had people on my end that were saying, you don't need to you don't need to buy another course. Stick with what you're doing. And I ignored all of that because I felt it deep down that like it just was like I did my homework and I researched other companies and I knew hands down that you guys were the best. It was the best education. Not only that, but actual support and
Mm,
able to really like ask questions and get one-on-one talks with you guys was huge and being able to talk to other people in the group and it is the reason why I booked or got a high paying position
yeah,
because I think they see that certification and they know that that you're taking it serious, that you're
yeah.
not just someone saying, hey, I want, I'd love to have this position, but you're actually putting in the work to be able to do it the right way.
Yep. Yep. I agree. Well,
Do
hey,
it.
thank you again. And I think that's great advice. And at the end of the day, it's like, hey, what you put in is what you get out of it. So if you are someone that is again on the fence, it's like, hey, believe in yourself, do your research. I think that's a great standpoint. But also, just know this is a skill set. You do got to master it if you want to be one of the top 1%ers. So we will have Brianna on again because there's no doubt in my mind. Obviously you're ramping up in this role, but there's no doubt in my mind that you're going to come back on this podcast and be even just a pillar of possibility for others that are looking to follow the same footsteps. So again, thank you, and I wish you the best in the new role.
Yes, thank you so much.